Today, I've got something cool lined up, 15 games with the most thrilling stories. You know I love a good game list, and this time, it's all about those narratives that just grab you, you know? I've been thinking about this for a while, digging through the games I've played, and these are the ones that really stood out, the stories that hit different. Some are big names, some might surprise you, but they've all got that spark. So yeah, let's jump in and talk about 15 games that'll pull you into their world with some seriously gripping tales. BioShock Infinite. Man, this game, if you've played it, you know what I'm about to say. It's a wild ride. You're this dude, Booker DeWitt, dropped into Columbia, this floating city in the sky. It's all pristine and patriotic on the surface, but yeah, it's messed up underneath. The story's got this mystery vibe going. Why are you here? Who's this girl Elizabeth you're supposed to grab? And what's with all the propaganda? It's 1912, but not the 1912 you'd expect. It's got airships, weird tech, and some seriously dark twists. What gets me is how it builds. You start off just taking in the sights, those bright colors, the hymns, the whole creepy utopia thing, and then it just unravels. Elizabeth is honestly one of my favorite characters ever. She's not just some damsel, she's got depth, and the way she ties into Booker's past, dude, that reveal still hits me. And the whole multiverse thing they pull off, I won't spoil it if you haven't played, but let's just say it's the kind of story that makes you sit back and go, wait, what?
You're a liar, Mr. DeWitt.
What I love is how it keeps you guessing. It starts off slow, letting you soak in the world, but then it ramps up with these insane moments. Like, there's this one scene with a raffle that goes so wrong, I still think about it, and the whole multiverse angle, dude, they weave in time rifts and alternate realities without it feeling forced. I won't spoil the big twist, seriously, if you haven't played, don't look it up, but when it hits, it's like a gut punch. Booker and Elizabeth's story ties up in this way that's messy, beautiful, and just sticks with you. Gameplay is solid, shooting's fine, the vigors are cool, but let's be real, you're here for the narrative. It's not flawless, sometimes it drags a little when you're just blasting through enemies to get to the next story beat, but that ending? That's the payoff. It's one of those games where you finish, lean back, and just stare at the screen for a minute, processing it all. If you're into stories that pull you in, mess with your head, and leave you with something to chew on, BioShock Infinite is absolutely worth your time. Still a standout even now.
Weigh the debt.
There was no baby. The deal was, I go to Columbia to get you.
Alan Wake 2. If you played the first game, you kinda know the deal. Alan Wake, this writer dude stuck in some creepy, foggy nightmare, but this sequel, it cranks everything up to 11. You're back with Alan, still trapped in this dark, twisted place, but now you've also got Saga Anderson, this FBI agent who's poking around Bright Falls, the same spooky town from the first game. And right off the bat, it's clear this isn't just a more of the same deal. The story's got layers and it's not afraid to get weird. So picture this, Alan's been missing for like 13 years since the first game, and he's scribbling away in this nightmare dimension called the Dark Place. It's all shadowy streets, flickering lights, and this vibe like you're stuck in a horror movie he's writing himself. Meanwhile, Saga's out in the real world, or what feels like it, investigating some ritual murders that are straight up grisly. The way these two stories bounce off each other is what gets me. You're flipping between Alan's surreal artsy hellscape and Saga's grounded detective work, and it's like two sides of the same messed up coin. The game's not shy about it either. It's constantly hinting that Alan's words might be bleeding into reality, and that's where the chills kick in. What I dig is how it's not just spooky for the sake of it. Yeah, you've got jump scares and those shadowy taken dudes coming at you with axes, but the story's got heart. Saga's trying to keep her head straight while everything's falling apart, and Alan's just desperate to claw his way out. There's this one moment, no spoilers, promise, where you see how deep the darkness runs, and it's not just monsters, it's personal. The game leans hard into that psychological horror vibe, like a Stephen King novel mixed with a David Lynch fever dream. And the live action bits, dude, they're so out there but somehow work. Like, you're watching Alan on a talk show in his own head, and it's creepy and funny at the same time.
Initiation tells the story of a fictional writer named Alan Wake.
The pacing's deliberate, I'll give it that. It takes its time setting the mood, those rainy forests, the eerie coffee shop vibes in Bright Falls, but when it hits hard. There's this murder board mechanic with Saga where you're connecting clues, and it's satisfying as hell, like you're in her shoes cracking the case. Alan's side gets trippy with these manuscript pages that shift the world around him. Again, no spoilers, but it's wild how it messes with you. Combat's there, flashlight and guns, stuff like the first game, but honestly, it's the story that carries it. It's not for everyone, I'll say that up front. If you're not into slow burns or artsy horror, it might feel heavy. But if you're down for a narrative that's dripping with atmosphere, twists that make you question what's real, and characters you actually root for, Alan Wake 2 is a gem.
There's something I'm forgetting. Something important.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And holy cow, this sequel takes the wild story from the first game and just keeps charging ahead. You're back as Henry, this regular dude from a little village in 15th century Bohemia, and let me tell you, his life's still a hot mess. The first game left him battered but tougher, and now he's rolling with his pal Hans, this noble guy who's equal parts troublemaker and bro, trying to dodge bandits and survive a war that's ripping everything apart. It picks up right where the last one dropped off, and the amazing story just gets bigger and crazier. This thing's got everything. Huge castle fights, sneaky spy missions at fancy weddings, and a revenge plot that's got Henry chasing down the punks who torched his family way back. It's like a medieval action movie where you're the star. You start off with nothing after some jerks jump you, thanks Hans, great bodyguard skills, and you're scrambling to get back on your feet. The world's massive, with muddy trails, busy towns, and this giant city Kuttenberg that's so real I almost got lost buying bread there. Henry's no knight in shining armor. He's just a scrappy guy figuring it out, and that's why I'm rooting for him. One minute he's dodging swords, the next he's stuck in a bar brawl because Hans can't keep his mouth shut. The story's got these twists that sneak up on you, like you think you're just delivering a letter, and suddenly you're knee-deep in a conspiracy with kings and crooks. It's gritty, it's epic, and it's got those whoa, no way moments that make you want to text your buddies about it. Sure, it's slow sometimes, like waiting for your horse to stop eating grass, but when it pops off, it's like a fireworks show in armor. Combat's tricky too. I swung my sword like a goof at first and got wrecked, but once you get it, you feel like a total boss. Oh, and the little stuff, your clothes get dirty, food goes bad. Henry's basically me forgetting laundry day. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We're playing as Indy, the dude with the hat and whip, kicking it in 1937, way before any of us were around. The story starts when some shady guy sneaks into your gig at Marshall College and swipes this old artifact. Turns out it's tied to something huge called the Great Circle, and now Indy's off on a wild chase, hitting up Egypt with its sandy dunes, the Vatican with all its fancy vibes, and even snowy mountains, where you're just praying for a heater. This thing's got a story that grabs you and doesn't let go. You're sneaking through old ruins, dodging traps like they're out to get you. I swear, one wrong step and I was toast more times than I'll admit. The bad guys are these jerk Nazis, led by this slick creep Voss, who's always acting like he's the king of the world. Indy's not having it. He's cracking that whip, punching faces, and muttering stuff like, why's it always gotta be Nazis? It's not just action though. You're solving puzzles too, like figuring out where this lever goes or what this dusty map means. Feels like you're actually in Indy's boots, sweating it out. The places you visit are nuts. Egypt's hot and full of pyramids. I half expected a mummy to pop out and ask for directions. The Vatican's all grand with sneaky corners, and those mountains, gorgeous, but man, I'd hate to shovel snow there. You can wander around, climb stuff, or just soak it in. It's like a vacation with a side of danger. The whip's your best buddy, snap it to grab a ledge or whack a guard, and yeah, I've accidentally hit myself in the face with it in my head. Stealth's a big deal too. Trying to tiptoe past goons is tense, and I'm over here holding my breath like they can hear me through the screen. The story keeps you hooked with twists that sneak up on you. One minute you're poking around a tomb, the next you're running from a collapsing wall. Classic Indy chaos. Voss is a step ahead, but Indy's got grit and a few tricks, like he's been saving up luck since the 30s. Now, the game it's not perfect, alright? Stealth can feel like herding cats. I got caught so much Indy probably wanted a new player, and I've fallen off stuff more times than I've won at Uno, but the story's where it shines. It's big, messy, and pulls you in like a good book you can play. If you're into adventures that mix danger, laughs, and a little brain teasing, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is your guy. Life is Strange.
What does this even mean?
A first one from 2015 that kicked off the whole series. You're Max Caulfield, this quiet photography nerd who's back in her hometown, Arcadia Bay, trying to survive high school without losing her mind. It starts off pretty normal. She's in class, messing with her camera, when out of nowhere she gets this freaky vision of a giant tornado smashing everything. Then, boom, she's in the bathroom saving her old friend Chloe from getting shot. And, plot twist, she can rewind time. From there, it's a roller coaster of weird and wild. The story's got this pull that keeps you locked in. Max and Chloe team up to figure out what happened to Rachel Amber, this girl who's gone missing while the town's falling apart, random snow, dead fish everywhere, it's nuts. You're using Max's time powers to fix stuff, like when you accidentally break something or say the wrong thing and just hit rewind like, nope, didn't mean that. It's awesome, but it gets heavy too. Every choice feels big, help this person, ditch that one, and it all piles up. Chloe's this punk with blue hair who's always dragging Max into chaos, and their back and forth is half the fun. Kinda like your loud cousin who's always got a bad idea.
Right now, asshole!
You better step back before you regret it, girl.
Arcadia Bay is its own deal too. It's this sleepy little place with foggy docks, a diner that smells like burnt coffee, and a school full of cliques and drama. You're wandering around, talking to people, digging up dirt. It's like being a nosy detective with a Polaroid. The time rewind stuff's clutch. I messed up so many chats and just went rewind, rewind, but it's not all smooth. Sometimes it's slow, like waiting for paint to dry, and the controls can feel wonky, like you're steering a shopping cart with a bad wheel. Still, when it clicks, you're hooked. It's got dark turns, creepy vibes with shady characters, and that missing girl mystery that keeps you guessing. The episodes drop twists like bombs. I'd finish one and just sit there like, okay, I need the next one now. The ending? Man, it's a kick to the stomach. Won't ruin it, but it's brutal picking what to do.
These visions, this power. I keep expecting to wake up one more time.
The Wolf Among Us.
I have a problem.
I heard you could do that.
This game's a hidden gem from 2013 that still slaps hard. You're Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf from fairy tales, but now he's a gruff sheriff in this gritty city called Fabletown. It's where all these storybook characters like Snow White and the Three Little Pigs live, hiding out in New York, trying to act normal. The story kicks off when a murder lands on your desk and suddenly you're knee deep in a mystery that's dark, twisted, and way more intense than any bedtime story. This thing's got a vibe that pulls you right in. Bigby's not some fluffy hero. He's rough, smokes too much, and half the town hates him because, you know, he used to eat grandmas. You're stomping around, grilling suspects like Beauty and Beast or that jerk Ichabod Crane, trying to figure out who's killing off Fables. The choices you make are brutal. Do you punch this guy for answers or play nice? I tried being good, but 5 minutes in, I'm tossing someone out a window, like guess I'm the bad cop today. It's all about that detective life, piecing clues together, and every episode ends with a twist that's like, wait, hold up, what just happened?
You're not as bad as everyone says you are.
The story's got edge. It's not just whodunit, it's betrayal, shady deals, and stuff that makes you wonder who's really the monster. The cast is wild. Snow's all business, keeping Bigby in line while calling the pigs, crashing on your couch, nagging you for a smoke. It's got laughs too, like when you're arguing with a drunk toad, and I'm over here dying because it's so random. But it's heavy when it needs to be. Those quiet moments hit hard.
What is this? Bigby.
What you did to the door? You can't just act like this whenever
Stand back. You don't want to see this.
Beyond Two Souls.
Welcome to the agency.
If you're Jodie Holmes, this girl who's had a ghost buddy named Aiden stuck to her since, like, forever. It's not some cute Casper deal. Aiden's this invisible spirit who's tied to her, flipping tables and choking people when he's mad. The story jumps all over her life, from being a kid to a grown-up, and you're piecing together why she's on the run from cops, scientists, and basically everyone who thinks she's a freak. This thing's got a story that keeps you guessing. One minute, Jodie's a little kid scared of the dark. Next, she's a teenager training with the CIA. Yeah, they're like, hey, Ghost Girl, come work for us. You're bouncing between scenes like a movie that won't sit still, figuring out how she went from hiding under blankets to dodging bullets. Aiden's your wingman. You control him too, floating around, spying on people or smashing stuff when Jodie's in a jam. The world's got this cool mix. Small towns, snowy bases, even some desert chaos. It's all cinematic, and you're making choices all the time. Talk your way out, fight, or let Aiden loose, and it changes stuff. I tried being sneaky once, but Aiden's like, nah, let's wreck it, and suddenly I'm the bad guy again. It's got funny bits too, like Jodie on a date, and I'm over here with Aiden messing with her vibe because I'm a jerk. It's deep though. Jodie's life is rough. She's hunted because of Aiden. And there's this whole what's after death thing that gets spooky and sad. The story's got twists, like who's really after her? What's Aiden even about? It's not all action. Sometimes you're just chilling, cooking dinner, or dodging bullies, and it hits you in the feels.
Jodie, what have you done?
As dusk falls. Picture this, it's 1998 and you're in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. You've got Vince, this normal guy, hauling his wife Michelle and daughter Zoe across the country in a beat-up car. Then, wham, they smash into these three brothers, the Holtz, who just totally flubbed a robbery. Next thing you know, everyone's holed up in this grungy motel, guns out, cops everywhere, and it's pure chaos from there. The story's got this pull that keeps you on edge. It starts with that car wreck. Vince just wants to keep his family alive, while the Holt boys, Tyler, Dale, and Jay, are freaking out because they stole from the wrong guy. You're flipping between them. Sometimes you're Vince talking your way out of trouble, other times you're Jay, this shy kid stuck in his brother's mess. Every choice is a big deal. Do you trust the sketchy cop, hide the cash, or just run? And the art style is dope. It's like a comic book that moves with these still pictures that pop. You're in dusty deserts, then jumping to snowy forests or sketchy trailer parks. It's got this gritty feel that drags you in. You're chatting with all kinds of people, angry cops, a nosy old lady, even the whole psycho mom, and every word's a tightrope. If you're into stories that mix crime, family drama, and what the heck moments, As Dusk Falls is something you should check out.
Family means sacrifice.
Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. This expansion dropped in 2023, and man, it's like Night City got a whole new soul. You're back as V, this merc, who's still got Johnny Silverhand rattling around in your head like a punk rock ghost with too many opinions. The base game was already a beast, but this, it's a full-on spy thriller bolted onto it. Story starts when the president's shuttle gets blasted out of the sky over Dogtown, this sketchy walled-off chunk of Night City that's basically a lawless dumpster fire. You're roped in by this netrunner Songbird who's all, help me save her and maybe I'll fix that brain parasite of yours. Spoiler, it's never that simple. This thing's got a story that grabs you by the collar and doesn't let go. You're teamed up with Solomon Reed, Idris Elba dude, killing it as this grizzled sleeper agent who's equal parts cool and don't trust me. You're sneaking through Dogtown, dodging trigger-happy militia and digging into this web of lies. Everyone's got an angle and you're stuck picking sides. Bogtown's its own beast, grimy streets, neon flickering like it's on its last legs, and every corner's got some hustler or psycho ready to jump you. You're zipping around with new toys, revamped perks, slick cyberware like a monowire that fries dudes, and a wanted system that actually makes cops chase you like GTA on steroids. The Quarry.
I told you kids to check everything. Look, it's not that big of a deal, okay?
The Quarry isn't just a horror game. It's like stepping into a slasher flick where you get to pull the strings. Every choice you make could be the difference between a character seeing the sunrise or getting absolutely wrecked by something lurking in the dark. And trust me, this game does not play fair. 1 second, you're cautiously poking around a creepy old cabin, and the next, you're in a full-blown panic, hammering buttons to keep a werewolf from turning you into a late-night snack. It's tense, messy, and full of those oh crap, what have I done moments that'll have you sweating till the credits roll. The story kicks off at Hackett's Quarry, a summer camp where a group of dumb teenage kids are spending one last night before heading home. Seems harmless, right? Yeah, not so much. Things quickly take a dark turn when they realize they're not alone. As the sun sets, they find themselves hunted by supernatural creatures and stalked by a mysterious family with some seriously shady secrets. The plot is full of twists and reveals, keeping you constantly guessing about who's trustworthy and what's really going on. But the real magic of the Quarry lies in its branching narrative. Every decision you make, from the dialogue choices to the split-second quick-time events, shapes the story. And I'm not talking about minor differences. Your choices can completely alter the fates of the characters. One wrong decision or missed button prompt and someone's getting shredded by a monster. But nail your choices and you might just save everyone. It makes every interaction feel intense. You'll second-guess every decision, wondering if you just doomed someone by being too nice or too reckless. The atmosphere is phenomenal. The game nails the summer camp horror vibe with creepy forests, old cabins, and moonlit lakes, creating the perfect spooky setting. The lighting and shadows make the world feel alive, while the tense sound design, like the snap of a twig or distant howl, will constantly keep you on edge. But what really makes the Quarry so thrilling is how it plays with your expectations. Just when you think you have things figured out, the game throws in a wild twist that completely changes the stakes. You'll start suspecting everyone, questioning their motives, and doubting your own choices. It's full of oh shit moments where you'll panic, scream, and sometimes laugh nervously, realizing you just made a terrible mistake. And if you're the type who loves replayability, the Quarry is an absolute goldmine. With 186 different endings, you'll never see the same playthrough twice. You'll want to go back and experiment with different choices just to see how wildly the story can change. Did you accidentally kill someone by being too aggressive? Try being more cautious next time. Did you trust the wrong person? Give them the cold shoulder in the next run. The replay value is insane. Paradise Killer.
This is a restricted area. Step back.
Paradise Killer is one of the most unique and mind-bending detective games out there. It throws you into a surreal, vaporwave-inspired open world, gives you complete freedom, and basically says, go solve a murder however you want. It's a bizarre, stylish, and incredibly clever mystery that'll keep you guessing until the very end. The story is set on Paradise Island, but don't let the name fool you, this place is messed up. It's basically a cult-run pocket dimension ruled by immortal beings who worship alien gods. The island is supposed to be a utopia, but it keeps getting corrupted by demonic forces, forcing the ruling council to create a new version of Paradise every time it fails. But right before Paradise 25 can be born, the entire ruling council is slaughtered, and you're the one called in to figure out who did it. You play as Lady Love Dies, yeah, that's actually her name, an exiled investigator who's been living in isolation for millennia after being blamed for a previous disaster. But when the council is murdered, you're brought back to crack the case. And here's where the game gets wild. There's no hand-holding, no linear path, and no clear-cut solution. You're free to explore the island however you want, interview suspects in any order, and collect evidence at your own pace. What makes Paradise Killer so thrilling is how open-ended the investigation is. You can accuse anyone of the crime. Yes, literally anyone. The game doesn't force a single true ending on you. Instead, it lets you build your own case. If you find enough evidence to pin it on a particular suspect, you can accuse them and present your argument in court. But whether you're actually right or just framing the wrong person depends entirely on how thorough and clever you are. The characters are incredibly strange and fascinating, which makes every interaction feel unpredictable. You'll meet people like Dr. Doomjazz, a flirty, half-naked doctor who seems way too chill for a murder case. Then there's Carmelina Silence, a mysterious architect with some seriously shady secrets. And let's not forget Crimson Acid, a cool, neon-soaked crime boss with insider knowledge on the island's dark underbelly. Every character is stylish, eccentric, and suspicious, making you constantly question their motives.
You're back, Elsie.
And the world itself is a character in its own right. The island is this trippy, dreamlike landscape filled with psychedelic statues, neon palm trees, and strange cosmic relics. You'll explore abandoned temples, eerie crime scenes, and shady hideouts, slowly piecing together the truth. The Vaporwave soundtrack perfectly complements the vibe, with chill synth beats and jazzy sax solos that make exploring the island feel hypnotic. But the real genius of Paradise Killer is how it plays with the concept of truth. It doesn't hand you a clear-cut answer, it leaves everything up to your interpretation. You might build a solid case against one suspect only to realize later that you missed a crucial piece of evidence, or you might go with your gut feeling only to discover that the person you let walk free was actually guilty all along. It blurs the line between justice and manipulation, making you constantly question your own judgment. It's the kind of game that'll stick with you long after you finish it, not just because of its surreal aesthetic, but because of how it makes you think. You'll replay it to experiment with different suspects, wondering if there was a more convincing case you could have built. Titanfall 2 campaign. Titanfall 2's campaign is one of the biggest surprises in gaming history. What could have easily been just a throwaway addition to the multiplayer ended up being one of the most thrilling, emotional, and downright creative single-player experiences ever made. It's fast, unpredictable, and surprisingly heartfelt, with an epic sci-fi story that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. You play as Jack Cooper, a low-ranking rifleman in the Frontier Militia, caught in the middle of a war against the ruthless IMC. After a mission mission goes horribly wrong, you find yourself stranded behind enemy lines and unexpectedly linked to a Vanguard-class Titan named BT-7274. BT's pilot is killed in action, leaving you as his only hope for survival. The two of you form an unlikely partnership, and what follows is a roller coaster of action, emotional moments, and jaw-dropping set pieces. The dynamic between Jack and BT is the heart of the story, and it's what makes the campaign so memorable. BT is not your typical robot sidekick. He's witty, deadpan, and strangely lovable. His matter-of-fact delivery of emotional lines creates hilariously awkward yet touching moments, like when he offers you fun facts in the middle of life-or-death situations, or he misinterprets human expressions. The bond you develop with BT feels genuine, and by the end, you'll care way more about this giant mech than you ever thought possible. But the story itself? It's pure sci-fi gold. What starts as a standard war narrative quickly evolves into something far more complex. You'll uncover sinister IMC experiments, face off against mercenary warlords, and jump through time itself. The plot keeps expanding with every mission, delivering one twist after another. And let's talk about the level design, because holy shit, it's next level. The campaign constantly throws fresh ideas at you, making every mission feel wildly different. One moment you're wall running through enemy strongholds, and the next you're platforming across crumbling buildings in mid-air. And then just when you think you've seen it all, the game drops the Effect and Cause mission, which is easily one of the best levels in FPS history. In this mission, you're given a device that lets you instantly travel through time, flipping between the present and the past at the press of a button. You'll use it to solve environmental puzzles, sneak past enemies, and outmaneuver foes by warping through time mid-fight. It's so mind-blowingly creative, it feels like something straight out of a next-gen Portal game. And the combat? Oh man, it's ridiculously smooth and satisfying. You'll seamlessly transition between wall running, double jumping, and sliding, making you feel like an absolute badass. The gunplay is tight and responsive, with a fantastic arsenal of futuristic weapons. Whether you're shredding enemies with an SMG, sniping from afar, or melting squads with a plasma rifle, every weapon feels impactful. And then there's the Titan combat, which takes the action to a whole new level. When you climb into BT, you go from nimble pilot to walking tank, dishing out devastating firepower. BT has different loadouts, letting you switch between machine guns, rocket launchers, and even energy weapons on the fly, giving you tons of tactical flexibility. The feeling of stomping through enemy squads or taking down massive mechs is pure power fantasy bliss. The pacing is flawless, there's never a dull moment, whether you're free running across futuristic facilities, fighting mercenary bosses, or engaging in massive Titan battles, the game keeps upping the ante. And just when you think you've reached the peak, it throws one last emotional gut punch that makes the entire journey even more unforgettable. Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is one of the most unforgettable and mind-bending story experiences ever made. It's the kind of game that sticks with you long after you finish it. On the surface, it seems like a laid-back space exploration game, but in reality, it's a brilliantly crafted, emotional, and sometimes heartbreaking mystery about the fragility of life, time, and discovery. You play as an alien astronaut from a small, curious species that's just beginning to explore space. Armed with a wooden spaceship and a rusty spacesuit, you set off to explore your solar system. The planets are strange and mesmerizing, each with its own unique environment and mysteries. You might float through a planet-sized hurricane, land on a crumbling comet, or get sucked into a black hole. It's endlessly fascinating, and the freedom to go anywhere from the start makes it feel like you're carving out your own adventure. But here's the twist. You're stuck in a time loop. Every 22 minutes, the sun goes supernova, wiping out everything. And then you wake up again, back at your campfire, with all your knowledge intact. The goal? Figure out why the solar system is doomed and try to stop it, if you even can. The thrill of Outer Wild comes from pure exploration and discovery. There's no hand-holding, no quest markers, just your curiosity driving you forward. You'll follow cryptic clues, decipher ancient texts, and piece together the tragic history of a long-lost civilization, the Nomai, who once lived in this solar system. With every loop, you'll uncover new secrets, slowly unraveling the mystery of why everything keeps dying. The planets themselves feel like characters, and they're constantly changing as the loop progresses. One world is being swallowed by a black hole, breaking apart chunk by chunk. Another is flooded by rising tides, making locations inaccessible as time runs out. You'll race against the clock, trying to unlock one last clue before the sun explodes, and when it does, you'll stare into the fiery void, accepting your fate, only to wake up and do it all over again. But what makes this story so powerful is how personal it feels. You're not some chosen hero trying to save the world, you're just a curious traveler facing the inevitable with nothing but your determination and curiosity. The Nomai's story, filled with hope, wonder, and tragedy, slowly becomes your own, and by the end you'll feel deeply connected to this universe. More than just a game, it's an experience about the beauty of exploration, the sorrow of loss, and the bittersweet nature of endings. It'll blow your mind with its revelations, break your heart with its final moments, and leave you sitting in awe as the credits roll. It's a rare masterpiece that reminds you why you fell in love with games in the first place. The Stray. Stray is one of the most unique and unexpectedly emotional story-driven games out there. On the surface, it's a game about being a cat, but it's so much more than that. It's a beautiful melancholic journey through a forgotten cyber city packed with atmosphere, heart, and surprisingly deep themes about loneliness, hope, and finding connection. You're just a small stray cat lost and alone after a brutal fall into the depths of a dying city. No humans, no way back, just a place overrun by robotic inhabitants trying to make sense of a world that left them behind. As this tiny, determined feline, you'll prowl through neon-soaked alleys, sneak into abandoned apartments, and slowly piece together the story of what went wrong. It's a haunting, beautiful journey told through the eyes of a creature that doesn't need words to leave an impact. The story unfolds not through long-winded exposition, but through the world itself. Faded posters, flickering neon signs, and the melancholic ramblings of the city's robotic residents. Along the way, you'll meet B12, a tiny drone with a big role, translating the robot's language and uncovering the city's buried secrets. At first, B12 feels like just another machine, all logic and no heart, but as the journey goes on, something changes. Against all odds, this little drone and a stray cat form a bond, bringing a surprising warmth to an otherwise desolate world. What makes Stray so compelling is how it tells a deeply human story through a cat's eyes. The city is a haunting reflection of human society where robots have adopted human traits. They form friendships, feel sorrow, and even experience fear. You'll help a robot musician find his lost music sheets, bring hope to a struggling bartender, and help a scientist fulfill his dream, all while exploring this crumbling world with your tiny paws. The game nails the cat experience, making you feel every bit as agile, curious, and mischievous as a real feline. You'll slink through vents, knock over bottles, scratch furniture, and even curl up and nap on cozy pillows. But it's not just cute, it's deeply atmospheric, and every small action carries weight. Jumping across rooftops, slinking through tight spaces, or meowing to distract enemies makes the game feel incredibly immersive. The story's pacing is perfect. It starts off light and charming, but slowly turns darker and more emotional. You'll uncover the tragic fate of the city's humans, learn the robots' heartbreaking backstories, and witness B12's emotional arc, which hits surprisingly hard.
I hate gravity!